this was the first episode that really like sold us on the promise of what the show was going to be, like the lawyer
Mhm.
funny kind of show. Like this was kind of like the first real one that was like that in a lot of ways.
Yeah, you had the side story with the old attorney from the DA's office that was a real douchebag that had
Mm.
his whole thing with Megan the Stallion. Um, that was fun. It was fun. And then her thing, they wrapped up the abomination thing awfully quick. Like I was expecting that to be like an arc that went through the season, like kind of the trial aspect of it, her defending him or something. But that got wrapped up real quick, which I was a little surprised by. Not that it's a bad thing. It could have probably gotten pretty boring had it gone on too long, but I didn't expect that to be done in one, basically.
I can't imagine that is the last of the abomination stuff though. Like, you think that whole arc's pretty much over at this point?
No, but with the premise of the show being her as a lawyer, I expect her to actually do some lawyering, and I thought maybe this wouldn't just. I guess I wasn't thinking it through. It is just um it's not a full-blown trial. It was just a God, why am I so dumb? Um, to release early from prison,
Yeah,
a
parole
parole hearing.
hearing.
It was just a parole hearing. So yeah, then and that's how it played out. She just, you know, I was also, well, the scene where he turns into Abomination and like could have left at any time seemed. I don't know if it was intentionally comical or not, but like I was like, so what was the purpose of all this supposed high tech prison stuff? Like this dude grows into Abomination, his cell kind of just breaks apart like
Yeah,
kindling, and
it wasn't really like it wasn't like an energy beam to prevent him from being able to transform or like I think they even alluded to they used a word like like for his parole he has to wear like a neutralizing
yeah,
something or something
yeah.
but it's like so you don't have that tech in his cell.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was very an
Yeah,
inhibitor collars, I think is what they called it. So yeah, that whole there were aspects of it that weren't really consistent story-wise, that I wish would have made a little more sense. But yeah, like the entire cell like shifts right there, and I guess they do have those glowing, but the way the everybody freaked out about it was
well even
very.
Jen even says in the scene right after he transforms back, she like appeals to the judges there and are like, "Look, he could have broken out at any point in time and he chose
Yeah.
not to." It's like, yeah.
And the
So
fact that he told them he was gonna change it, it was. I'll say this, we Lord of the Rings, I thought was very well acted. I'm used to House of Dragons, it's extremely well acted. There was some over the top acting in this scene, and maybe it just hit a little closer to home because I've been watching some other shows that have a little more nuance to the performances. This was the reaction of the parole board when he turned was just it took
I
me
did
out of it
not
for a
like
second.
oh yeah, I didn't like that honestly. That it took me out of it for a minute too, because like they were just freaking out for no
Oh
reason.
yeah, yeah. It was. I was like, wait a minute. The dude just told you he was going to turn
Yeah.
into him, and he not being aggressive in any way. He's literally holding Crocs in his hand. He's holding a pair of Crocs.
Yeah,
Like
and it's like it
the
can't just be
least
because of
aggressive
what
thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's ridiculous. It couldn't be it's not just because maybe I don't buy that it's, like, just because he looks disgusting that that's why they're freaking out either. So, like, I just
Hmm.
it was just over the top to be over the top,
Hmm.
and it really was kinda stupid, in
And
all
I
honesty.
guess for a sitcom, they probably tried to play it up that way.
Mhm.
Um, But I liked the episode overall. It was just that one particular part I really bumped up against. Like I said, like we agreed, it kind of pulled us out for a second.
I did love this little one-liner from Wong, though, when they're like, "Oh, but Mr. Wong, you, like" whatever. Participated in a prison break or whatever, and, like, said that you broke the law essentially, and he's just like what does he say? Just like,
I
"I
need to
must
go
take my
now.
leave." Yeah, it was, "I must take
Yeah,
my leave," or something, whatever he
yeah.
says, like, it was funny.
Yeah, that was good.
And then there was another like kind of stupid one-liner with what's his name? Pug, or is that his name? Pug?
Yeah,
Can't
yeah,
remember if that's his name or not. But either way, right after
I think
this,
it is.
when the elf walks out and is just like whatever she says that he does to women, and he like after that comes out, it's just like, I don't do that, you know me, like, and just like walks back. I thought that was really funny.
Yeah, that was good.
That was goofy. I'm not even gonna lie too, this might show my age a bit here too. I don't know who the fuck Megan Thee Stallion even is. So
Oh, really?
yeah,
She's
literally
just, I
don't, and I
mean,
don't care.
you have to listen to pop music. I mean, well, I guess you could listen to hip hop too, but she's had a couple huge pop hits. She's a hip hop artist that's crossed over into pop, mainstream. I guess radio plays more. So
Yeah, see, I don't listen to mainstream radio, and I'm
yeah,
sure I guarantee you I've heard her songs, but like
yeah.
seeking this
Did you
artist out
watch?
by name,
Did
never.
you watch the after credit scene?
Yeah, that's what I have pulled up
Okay,
right now. The
so
twerking.
the song that's playing over that is one of her songs.
I imagine I can't remember if I even.
Recognize it?
Yeah, I don't know if I did or not.
Okay.
I don't. It didn't stand out to me, but yeah, definitely. I don't know if it was like. I don't know if she did good. I don't know if she did bad because I'm not familiar with her at all.
I'm actually looking it up right now, but maybe you can tell me first. Why do I know Pug? What was
He
he
was in
on?
a couple different things, but I can't remember off the top of my head what exactly, like, I even initially knew him
Oh,
from.
okay, there it is.
What is it?
He was Adrian Chase on Arrow. That's where I
Oh,
know
yeah,
him
that
from.
was it. Yeah.
Yep.
That was the one that I heard most recently that somebody said. But then
That's some good
I, like,
CG
kinda
right
wasn't
there.
even watching it then. Oh, yeah. I mean, honestly, like, this was kind of a divisive scene. Some people thought like this, and it's kind of this episode was too, which is ironic because this is what the like I kind of said from the beginning, this is what the show kind of was set up to be and what the promise of the show was. So like it didn't really the tone of it and then everything about that didn't really like fully take me out of it, but again, that scene with them all screaming at Abomination, I just thought was a little bit too over exaggerated. It just
Sure.
carried on for too long, honestly. It just
Yeah.
drug on. Like, it's just like, okay, we get it. Like, them screaming one time is fine, but I cut to that woman, like, 4 different times, she had to
Yeah.
stop, catch her breath, and then scream again.
Green Moore.
I
Yeah.
was just like, "Come on, dude, just move on." But, what did you think that this was kind of, like, overall ridiculous, or did you like it? Like, what did you think about the twerking happening and all that? Would you ever have thought we'd see She-Hulk twerking?
It it's a I don't know
I don't
what the
know.
right I don't know what the right way to say it.
I'm watching it now, and it's just making me laugh, so, like, it definitely didn't bother me. Like,
Yeah,
honestly, I think it's
it
funny.
didn't bother me. I'm also like I know I skew older, but it also is maybe more culturally and generationally relevant to a younger generation. So like there's going to be things that traditionally, I wouldn't have expected a Marvel character to twerk, but that society and culture changes over time, and that's something that's now a thing. It's become part of pop culture in a way. So for it to happen, like it was comical. I don't, it is what it is.
Yeah. What was worse to if you had to pick one, Hulk dabbing
Oh,
in Endgame or She-Hulk twerking? You didn't know I was going there, did you?
I
You thought I was
didn't.
going
No, I
somewhere
was
else.
expecting this scene. I thought you were going to say between these two, this scene and the twerking scene. I was going to say by far this scene.
Oh, yeah, this
I
scene
don't.
100%
I
was
don't.
more annoying.
I don't know. Neither one really bothered me. So I don't know.
Yeah, no, I heard people, like, comparing it to that scene from Endgame with Hulk dabbing, and I'm just like, "That was a funny scene, though, too." It's like doing
Yeah.
it to a bunch of
Yeah.
kids, trying to just, like, make them laugh, fit in, just
Well.
like, whatever, just like, "Hey." I would
Yeah.
never do it, but, like, Hulk I could see Hulk doing it when he's, like, got Mark Ruffalo's Bruce
And the
Banner
fact,
personality.
the fact of the matter is, people know people it's like a dad joke, right? Like there are older guys that would try and do that to fit in with younger kids, and
Mhm.
you know, it would be funny, but is it funny because it's intentionally funny, or is it funny because it's they're laughing? Are they laughing at them or with them? Like, you know, it's I don't know, it's that whole thing. So it was fine. Yeah,
If anything too, like, I think they're actually keeping it because there was a lot of people saying too that, like, the fourth wall breaking stuff is a played out trope and, like, all that, and, like, I feel like the show hasn't, for one, even really done it all that much. Like, I
no,
thought they'd be leaning into it a lot more. Like, Deadpool breaks the fourth wall more than in the entirety of every episode of this show does within, like, the
sure,
first 5 minutes of the movie, a Deadpool
sure.
movie. And, ironically, She-Hulk did it first in the comics to begin with, so I just thought it was really funny that people, like, are even
I thought
saying anything about it.
I thought that they've chosen their moments really smartly to break the fourth wall too. I thought it was hilarious that she pointed out the fact that it's not supposed to be a guest star of the week thing, but then ironically they've had a guest star supposedly every week now, and
Mhm.
I actually really I enjoy them. I think they're great. You know
The one that I
I
actually
think they do
liked
them
even
well.
more than that one was when they're sitting at the bar, and then she looks and breaks the fourth wall and says that, "Ooh, like, we connected the A plot and the B plot," like, and
Yeah,
I thought that was, like, actually clever because it was
yeah,
true, and it was
yeah,
funny. What do you think about the wrecking crew here?
yeah. I mean
Was it too a little
we'll
bit
see
over
what.
the top?
No, no, I didn't get that from it. I'm curious who they're working for. Um,
My guess is the leader.
you think so?
Yeah.
Do you think that they included this in this episode so that this episode would have an action set piece? Is that why I felt like it was kind of just tacked on, just like, you know what, we haven't had her fight anything, so we're gonna have her fight something this episode. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm trying to think. The first
Possibly.
episode, you got the fight with Hulk. The last episode, you got I don't know. Did you get a fight with She-Hulk? Maybe the fact that she hasn't fought anything. I can try to remember what
I can't remember if she did fight anything in the
she
last
may have.
one.
She may have not. I mean, it was her looking for her job, and she gets her job with the law firm. So I don't think she actually punched anything or fought anything. So I don't know. It just felt kind of tacked on at the end. But we'll see. Maybe it will play better once we have more information about these guys, and who they're working for.
Do you have any guesses on who they're working for
No,
yourself?
I hadn't even really. I watched this, and then I started right into Lord of the Rings, so I could try and get them both in. So I
Yeah.
haven't given a whole lot of thought to this yet. But leader that'd be an interesting pull. I'd like that. It'd be a Hulk villain that they haven't used, and you know would make sense. So.
Well, since he was in the one that Blonsky was in, that's why I'm thinking it might just be him coming back.
Oh, that's right. I didn't think of see, that movie's so detached from everything else that
Yeah,
even though they're throwing Blonsky in this, I still don't even
yeah.
go back to it when I think about it, so
That's why that'd be, like, my best guess because it's like they brought Blonsky back, they've already referenced that whole, it being detached with Hulk's joke in the first one where he's like, "I'm a totally different person now," literally.
yeah,
Like, so, I don't know, I leader would also make sense as someone who explicitly would be trying to get, like, Hulk DNA, right? Because he's
mhm,
had it drip onto his brain and knows the effects. So,
mhm,
he's one of the few people out there that would even think, like, oh, that they could even do something with Bruce's or a Hulk's DNA, just with, like, some blood, just
mhm,
to do anything, like, 'cause most people you gotta think probably have no idea that they could even potentially get powers from Hulk just by getting some of his DNA or blood if it needs to be specifically blood, right?
yeah,
Or else you'd think that, like, a ton of people would always be coming after Jen when she's in human form.
yeah, yeah,
What are you gonna say?
well, I was kinda switching gears, switching topics, sort of, are you surprised at all that we haven't that there hasn't there was a comment in the episode when she's walking into the prison. They have all the reporters yelling questions at her, right? Yelling comments at her. And one of the reporters says, "We heard that the Avengers rejected you," or something along those lines. It was an interesting comment to me just because clearly this is, I mean, not that this is part of the MCU in general, and but clearly she has closer connections to the other superheroes in the MCU, based upon her connection to Mark Ruffalo, and I guess I'm a little surprised that there hasn't been any reference or contact from. I don't even know at this point. I don't know if it would be Sam or if it would be Captain Marvel or if it would be. I don't know. I mean, who are our Avengers at this point? Who's leading the chart? Thor. I mean, Thor's off world, I guess, for you know, um, Love
Well,
and
see,
Thunder. So Thor isn't there. Like, I'm
that's
just surprised that there's no like there hasn't been like a phone call made or something like Paul Rudd. Like, hey, Bruce asked me to check on you or something.
well, that's kind of part of the problem in some ways. I think that the MCU has kind of had with this whole phase. Really, is we don't even know the status of the Avengers.
Yeah.
Like, we don't even know if there's still a team. We have who if the Avengers are still around, which I mean, we know they quote unquote are to some degree, but like, who are the Avengers right now?
Yeah.
Like, we have no idea because in Falcon and Winter Soldier, they weren't. Neither Falcon nor the Winter Soldier were a part of the Avengers at that point in time. Like, even when Sam becomes Cap at the end, he didn't like go back to Avengers headquarters or call anybody to have a new Avengers meeting or anything like that. And then Doctor Strange explicitly says that he's not an Avenger in his movie.
Mhm.
So, I mean, we've kind of only established that there are no Avengers right now, more so than anything, it seems. I mean,
Yeah.
right? We've had
I
nothing
mean,
to say
I guess they
anything
could
else. It's
have.
weird.
I guess I can't remember at the end of this is bad. I mean, I've seen the movie a bunch of times. I can't remember at the end of Endgame. Are we left at all with any kind of team or anything? Any shot? Like, I mean, I assume they still have the Avengers headquarters and I don't know. I guess it made sense. Like here's the thing that I guess I'm bumping up against. Like it's the problem of comics in general is that like if Superman's in trouble, why don't all the heroes show up to help him?
Oh,
If
yeah. Yeah.
it's at some point you just have to be like, yeah, they can't. Otherwise, there would be no threat. Otherwise, every show and every episode and every comic would be
An
a
Avengers movie.
Justice League or an Avengers movie. Exactly. Um, but it made sense for me for like Sam and Bucky to have their own adventure because like they're established, right? The world knows about them. The Avengers know about them. They're established. Jen is a completely brand new character. So you would think the Avengers who monitor big threats and whatever, not that Jim would be a threat, but they would be like they would get in touch, and they at least reach out and like say, hey, what's up? Are you
Well,
interested? Do you need help? If you need help, contact us. I know we're supposed to be getting Daredevil later, so maybe that's coming. But
to that point, that did happen at the end of Shang-Chi. Carol
yes,
Danvers,
yep,
Wong, and Hulk reached out to Shang-Chi immediately, right at the
yep,
end there. But
yep.
and honestly, kind of more to your point, or even maybe a counterpoint, I don't even know. The the Avengers, I would think, would consider a Hulk, no matter who, what, when, where, or why, to be initially when they have not talked to them, they would presumably think that's a major threat.
It could, yeah,
Like
definitely,
like it's a person who can turn into the Hulk and like or a
yeah.
Hulk. Like we they have firsthand experience with Hulk prior to Professor Hulk. So you'd think they'd want to be like, hey, let's have a talk. Like,
And I think, like, I could even theoretically buy like Bruce Banner calling the Avengers and being like, "Hey, look, I'm taking off world. By the way, my cousin got some of my blood in her. She's now a Hulk, and but she's cool. Like we've I've vetted her or whatever." And that could have been like just a voicemail at Avengers Tower. They could have just showed a scene of like the voicemail picking up and him leaving the message, or it could have been him actually talking to somebody, like,
They could have thrown it
Ant-Man.
in one of these, pictures, and I think it would have been good.
Yeah,
Just
but
start
just
like, just showing, like, Hulk on the phone, the voicemail little message come up, and you see it, like, at Avengers Tower, like, that would have been fine. Because then,
sure,
like, we would have even known as an audience that, like, at least he did call them, and they maybe they were gonna shoot the scene, but didn't shoot the scene, so they just threw it in this little credit montage. I feel like
sure,
that would work,
yeah.
honestly, because there's no need to. Because that is kind of the problem. Give me 2 seconds, I'm gonna open my door. Starting to get warm in here, but that is the inherent problem with, like, shared cinematic universe movies, right? That's what everyone always complains, like with Aquaman, for instance, people just said, like, "Well, where was Superman when the, Ocean Master was trying to flood the Earth? Like, Superman would have showed up for," like, yeah, but this is
Yeah.
Aquaman's movie, like, that's why Superman didn't show up, like,
Mhm.
it's like when I remember back when
You
Falcon and Winter Soldier was coming out just because they were in New York, they were like, "Oh, you think we're gonna see Spider-Man? Like, is Daredevil gonna
yeah.
show up because it's in New York?" It's like, "Well, no, this is a Falcon and Winter Soldier show."
And you just have to, like, in my head, I mean, I've been collecting comics for 30 years now. I mean, you just kinda have to, in your head, you just have to assume every character's got a story going on at any given time. So, at any given time, the story that they're involved with is the one they're involved with, while the other character's involved with their story. Like, they don't have time to come over and help because they're dealing with their own crap. So, that's the way
Mhm.
I've always chalked it up in my head.
Right. And I don't see, and that's why there's a lot of people I've seen, like, complain about the, like, MCU Phase 4 kind of feeling not like there no one's wrong to think this because it's true in some way, I just don't let it bother me, but just that it's been kind of directionless in Phase, like, 4 and 5. They don't like, we don't really know who the Avengers are. There's been no real mention or direct connection to any of the movies as they've came out lately. Like, they've kind
Mhm.
of all been standalone films, even with ones that you think like Multiverse of Madness, you'd think that might have gotten the attention of some other kind of people, but it really didn't. And then even Far From Home, like, that was a pretty big deal, but it was just Doctor Strange and Spider-Man. They worked it all out. Not everybody else needed to show up for that. So, and then Eternals was just like completely its own thing. So,
Wasn't
like,
even referenced until She-Hulk, yeah.
yeah, so which
I
and
guess
so
it's
I
I
get that it's like people would be upset about that because we have Erisham the judge looking over Earth saying that he'll be back to judge you, and we haven't seen any, like, Christian people on the MCU world question that, like, they would, and not even just, like,
Mhm,
Christian, but, all religions would be, like, put into question at that point, and that's, like,
yeah.
big kinda stuff that they could be talking about, but they don't talk about any of that stuff. They don't even we got our first reference to Tiamat being a statue that was gonna
Yes.
destroy the planet in She-Hulk, and it was in a little newspaper. They weren't even
News
actually
or yeah,
talked about it, you know? So it's just
yeah.
kinda weird. So I definitely don't fault anybody for being kinda mad about, like, not knowing and, like, thinking it's kinda lackluster because they just have no idea, but I don't know. I
I
kinda just take
I
them as they come.
definitely, I'm definitely in that camp with you, and the Phase 4 really feels like maybe kind of an expansion and also a replacement phase. Like, they're replacing a lot of I mean, they've lost Cap, they've lost Iron Man, they've lost Black Widow. They're kind of expanding, but also kind of filling the roster back in, for lack of a better way to put it. Um, and I guess for a real world example, like, your local police department, when there's a crime that happens, it's not like every police department in the area comes to that one crime. Like, it's usually the local police department takes care of it. Each city's police department takes care of their own city. But then, of course, you occasionally have those huge issues that require multitask, multi-force, interaction. Like, you'll have police come from different areas to come over and help out or support. So I guess that's more like that kind of thing, I guess, makes it play a little better in my head, knowing that the real world stuff happens that same way.
Yeah. One thing that I just thought of too that is kinda weird that we haven't heard of it since it happened. Because kinda to that point where we haven't heard anybody talk about Tiamat or no one mentioned Doctor Strange, those events. No one has even talked about the aftermath of the Sokovia Accords since Civil War. So we don't even know what the state of the Sokovia Accords even is anymore.
Like, if they still exist or not.
Yeah, because you gotta
Yeah.
think, like, that happened, but then shortly after that, Thanos happens. So then 5
Mhm.
years pass, and we have, like, half the universe has gone to this point, so, like, I don't know, it just is like, the Avengers were obviously, like, still working. We saw in Endgame, like, they were doing their thing, but then we also saw in Infinity War that Cap was on the run.
Oh, yeah,
So it was still
definitely.
so, like, there was definitely
S
they were in play, then the snap happened, and then the Avengers were doing their thing,
so
but
I'm assuming that there was a discussion that was had in between that 5 years where they were like, because 'cause I'm assuming in Infinity War, you still have the Sokovia Awards in effect, or awards.
yeah, the
Accords,
awards.
they were it was not an award. The Accords are still in effect in Infinity War, and then Thanos snaps away half the population, and everybody goes, "Oh shit, we kinda need superheroes."
Yeah,
Like,
right.
why are we banning them? Like, we'll take all the help we can get. You guys do whatever you need to do. If you don't wanna check in with us, that's okay. We need all the help we can get. We don't wanna lose another half of our population.
Oh, yeah, and it's
So at
funny.
that point, they were taken
Yeah.
away.
I mean, I buy that. It's just funny that they didn't show it because if you think back to, like, what was it, Iron Man 2? That half that movie was not half of it, but they had a whole scene with Tony in a courtroom, having to, like, answer for things that he's
Intro
did,
Yep,
and then, like, the Justin Hammer stuff. So, like, there's precedent for them to include these things and include the
sure.
aftermath and, like, follow it up, but so I just totally buy when people when that bothers them because, like, I can see
Yeah,
why. I just choose to just
go with
kinda
the
watch the
flow.
movie and just whatever. Because
Yeah.
I honestly don't like I'm in one camp, I like all the interconnected stuff, but at the same time, if they make things too interconnected, it doesn't give them any wiggle room or leeway to just kinda, like if they don't wanna follow it up, they don't have to, like,
Mhm.
if they start mentioning all these little things here and there, and they make a point and precedent to, like, keep talking about things in other movies and, like, we wouldn't get things like love it or hate it like Thor: Love and Thunder, right? If that Thor movie, Thor 4 had to connect XYZ plots, then we wouldn't have that movie. Like, whether you
Right.
like it or not, it just you wouldn't get your own fun things there. Kevin Davis says that She-Hulk was a good series and hope it gets renewed. I'm sure it'll get renewed. Actually, I don't know. She might just go straight to movies though. Like Loki
Yeah, it
season
depends.
2 is the only like Loki is the only one that has for sure gotten a season 2 of anything because Captain America is getting a movie, like
Yep,
Sam Wilson, and
yep.
then Miss Marvel, I imagine would probably we know Miss Marvel's going into the movies too, so there's Moon Knight was supposedly there's been chatter about a season 2, but they put Moon Knight up for best limited series in the Emmys. So that would mean there's not gonna be a season 2.
Until they decide it's not, right? Because didn't that happen with another show? Wasn't there another show that actually won,
Yeah,
like, a
it was,
limited series, and then
Big
they
Little
announced that
Lies.
there's yeah, and then they announced a season 2 of it, everybody was like, "Well, wait a minute, that's not a limited series now."
Mhm.
But it already won, so,
Yeah, and they weren't
yeah,
happy about that in the Emmys, like, so they would definitely have to announce ahead of time that they'd have to pull it from the because Moon Knight did get nominations for the
yeah.
Emmys, so obviously because it's for best limited series, so they would have to
Well,
withdraw if they did do Moon Knight season 2. They could have leeway if they put Moon Knight in something else, so it's not really a Moon Knight show, I guess,
it's
but
really interesting that Loki has gotten a season 2 just because, I mean, we did get all of Phase 5 announced, right? And we got a tease at Phase 6, and there are no second seasons in Phase 5 except for Loki. So, I mean, I hope they give if they're not going to do something with them in the movies, I would hope that they would give She-Hulk and, Miss Marvel a second season, but we'll see.
I'm if the comics represent anything, She-Hulk will definitely be in the God, what am I thinking? The second Avengers one, not Kang Dynasty, but Secret Wars. She would definitely be
Okay.
in Secret Wars because She-Hulk, if I'm remembering correctly, has a pretty major role in Secret Wars. The second one, I think. I don't know about the first one, but the more recent Secret Wars that happened,
Yes.
if I remember
Yes.
correctly.
Yeah.
So I would, but I think with She-Hulk, they would probably benefit for her to go into the movies so they could spend more time on the CGI, and then if they do a season 2, She-Hulk will look as good as Hulk does in the She-Hulk show. So that
Well,
would be cool.
the other part with She-Hulk is just the format, like being a sitcom type thing. If they want to keep that type of show on the air, if they feel like they want to, maybe this is a one-off, just them trying it, kind of like they just tried something with WandaVision. But
Mhm.
if they want to have a sitcom aspect to their lineup, then yeah, I mean, bringing She-Hulk back for a second season would make a ton of sense.
I think as it is right now, She-Hulk is probably like that was a perfect point based on its format alone, you would think would get a season 2 because
Mhm.
She-Hulk's actually, I mean, they might have She-Hulk break the fourth wall for a quick joke in a movie, but it's obviously not gonna be like her show if she shows up in an Avengers movie. So,
You
yeah,
know what's gonna be great is
her
when
and
she shows
Deadpool?
up in Deadpool. When she shows up in Deadpool and they
Yeah.
both break the fourth wall together, that's gonna be,
Did you see,
yeah.
like
I mean, they gotta do that, right?
well, I Tatiana Maslany has actually talked about doing that with Deadpool before in an interview,
Did
and, like,
she? Okay.
she, like,
I may
mentioned
have,
this, like, whole
maybe that's
scene
why.
that she had in her head that, like, they could do with it, and it would
Maybe
work.
I did. Maybe I did read that somewhere, and then subconsciously I'm just bringing it back up. That would make sense. But yeah, that would be awesome. I'd love
Oh, yeah,
that.
it'd be funny because like, she had thought about it. I don't know if it was on her own fruition, like, altogether, but she initially had put some thought into it theoretically because she was talking about how her and Ryan Reynolds are both, like, Canadians, and she knew where they were both obviously, she knows where she's from, but she knew where he was from, and she mentioned, like, the joke being something about where they lived in Canada, something to do with Canada, I forget what it was, but nevertheless, she put a little bit of thought into it to know at least that much.
Yeah.
I don't know if what we do, I mean, eventually, I'm sure what we do in the shadows will be on Disney Plus when Hulu goes away, but while Hulu is still in the States, I don't
Do you
know.
think Hulu's going away?
Oh, yeah, I'm sure eventually they'll just have everything under Disney Plus because they,
Really?
yeah, because I mean, in other territories, there is no Hulu, so all of
But
the Hulu content is on Disney Plus.
isn't Hulu also their, for lack of a better way to put it, their cable service? I mean, isn't doesn't Hulu offer people the opportunity to get
Yeah,
other
you can,
networks, not just Disney Network? You can
yeah.
get, like, I personally don't like Hulu because I had a bad first experience with it, and I've hated it ever since. But my impression from Hulu was basically like you can get rid of cable and just get Hulu, and then just you can just, if you have Hulu, watch all your shows through Hulu, because basically every network runs their primetime shows on Hulu. It's just whether or not you want to pay for it.
Well, you can get, like, live TV with Hulu, but then
Okay.
elsewise, the only stuff that's on there is stuff that they were able to license from other people. So,
Okay.
like, all of the individual network shows that show up there now are gonna be gone because they're all like,
They go to
NBC
their
is gonna start putting, they're not gonna license their NBC shows out to Hulu or anyone else. They're just gonna put it on Peacock. Like,
okay.
that's just what's happening. So, eventually, Hulu is only gonna have the Fox content because most places aren't gonna license them anything anymore.
Okay.
So, and then with Hulu, not like I said, Hulu doesn't exist in international territories. So in other places, all of the Hulu content is already on Disney Plus. So
Okay.
it just eventually it'll be gone. The one thing though they will lose out on unless they integrate this into Disney Plus too, but I don't see them doing it, but who knows? Um, is like the being able to get cable television. 'Cause you can get, like, YouTube TV and Hulu TV, and that's literally just getting actual live broadcast networks, But,
Yes.
like, with the Hulu version I have just has whatever they're hosting on there, which right now they have licenses for some shows on networks, and they premiere the day after that they do on, like, broadcast television, but even then, they had limited licenses with that stuff, so you'd only have it for, like, 5 weeks, and then, like, they would expire.
Uh-huh.
Weird, but it's fine, though.
You
I like Hulu, but
did you watch What We Do in the Shadows?
yeah, dude, I love that show.
That's a great show. I
I
haven't
love the
seen
movie, I love the
I think
show.
I think I've seen the first 2 seasons. I need to catch up on it, but yeah, I love that show.
Yeah, next week is the season 4 finale, I think, if there's only 10 episodes, because I think this week was the ninth episode, so, yeah.
I would love if it came to Disney Plus. I've actually just been catching it on DVD when the DVDs get released. I pick them up from the library,
Yeah.
but yeah, I would love to see that if it went to Disney because I'm not gonna like again Hulu. I don't like Hulu, but
You can get Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN, though. You can get all 3.
yeah, but
It's
then
a
I'm just
bundle.
paying for ESPN, which I don't. I already have
Nah,
YouTube TV,
you would
so.
watch Hulu, though. If you had it, you would watch it. Yeah,
Are you
like you
kidding
said,
me?
What We Do in the
I
Shadows
would
is
want to
there.
watch Hulu if I had it, but I can barely get in the stuff I do
That's
have right
true.
now. So, no, I don't need to spend more money yet. I don't know. Hulu is one of these things where like this was years ago. I'm gonna go ahead and tell the story because I this explains my hatred of Hulu. But this was years ago. Had Netflix, right. I was loving Netflix and my subscription to Netflix and my streaming. It was the best thing in the world. I was like, this is wonderful. And Hulu's like, hey, you want to have a trial subscription with us? I was like, oh, okay, yeah, sure, let's do this. Signed up for their like $10 a month deal or whatever. And I go to watch my first episode and I get 5 minutes into it. And what happens? I start watching a commercial. I'm like, what is this crap? Like, what are you talking about? Netflix doesn't have commercials. You don't watch commercials when you're streaming content. And then I looked into the plan a little bit more and I didn't even realize that Hulu had, ad supported tiers. I was just like, I hate that. I hated that. And it set a precedent that they've continued now with all the other streaming services. And I just hate that idea that it was okay, that people accepted the idea that it was okay to like it should have been one price. They should have been, you know, I don't know. I don't know. I understand it keeps it cheaper for them. They were able to offer it cheaper to people. I love Netflix, and I love that Netflix didn't have ads, and I thought that was Netflix got to set the expectations for what streaming was because they were first to market, they were universally loved, and their expectations were that you don't get ads. And so when I ran into ads during my first experience with Hulu, I was just like, no, I'm
Well,
done with you. I'm
now Netflix is gonna have an ad tier too.
I know, and it's all
They're
like
all gonna do it.
of the two ways that could have gone. One is people saying, "Hell no, Hulu, we're not accepting ads in our streaming services," or every other service starting to implement ads. It obviously went the way I preferred it didn't go. So
Because yeah, now Peacock has 3 different tiers, HBO Max has tiers, Netflix is gonna have tiers, Hulu has tiers. Everyone's got the
HBO
tiers
Max,
now.
yeah, it's
Everyone
awful,
I mean,
awful.
at the very least, so it doesn't bother me any because I will always pay more to not have the ads. Don't care. I'll double the fee and I'll fucking
So
do
on.
it. Like, I don't care. Problem is, though, eventually, we're gonna be paying even more I think at this point, we already do pay more than we did for cable. I think it's
Here's
already gotten there.
here's the biggest problem for me. The biggest problem with the ad supported tiers for me, especially when it came to Hulu. Like I got Hulu to watch network shows. So I bought Hulu specifically to watch like I can't even remember back in the day. I think Life in Pieces, which was an NBC sitcom that was on. I think that specifically I bought to watch that, or I signed up to watch that at one point. Um, and I literally could watch that for free over the air. Now, yes, I had to be tuned in at the right time during the week to watch it, but I could literally watch that for free with ads over the air. So you're telling me that you want me to pay you money to show me exactly what I could see for free on TV? Like, that's where I bumped up against it in a big way. Like, I just thought it was complete and utter BS that they wanted me to pay them money to show me the exact same thing with, exact same, because it's exact same ad breaks, it's the exact same advertisements, and, like, if you're making the money off of it, just give it to me like they do on network TV. But
Mhm.
so anyway, that was the thing. That I understand that there's the convenience of being able to watch it whenever you want,
The
and
on
that's nice.
demand.
The on-demand aspect of it, but with DVRs and everything else, I just thought that was ridiculous that they were doing that. And obviously, the world accepted it, the streaming population accepted it, and now it's just the way it is.
It
So,
is. Like I said, it doesn't really bother me any because I will pay more for no ads, don't care. I just don't want
yeah,
it to get to the point where it is, like, double the fee, because eventually it'll be there, right? It's gonna be right now, like, Netflix has, like, it's what, like, 20 some odd bucks, like, they've gradually increased their prices over the years regardless, but now it's like 20 bucks, we'll say, on average for the non-ad plan, and then the ad one's gonna come out and it's gonna be like 10 bucks, but then soon enough, they'll both bump up, and then it'll
yeah,
just be like, "Well, now I'm paying $40 just to not have ads, and the ad one is $20 because it just I'm not happy about it to some degree just because it's gonna be really expensive, but
yeah, it's gonna be super. Well, I mean, they're gonna start pricing each other out. Like people are gonna have to start making it hard. I think it's been like this is truly the golden age of streaming because you can do a lot of streaming services for what I would consider to be a kind of reasonable amount right now. We're starting to get to that tipping point where people are gonna have to make decisions. They're gonna have to start going, okay, I'm only going to have Netflix and HBO Max, or I'm only going to have Disney Plus and HBO Max, or whatever, because you're just not gonna be it's not gonna be able to afford it all.
oh, I know, that's the thing, if they were all like 20 bucks a pop, which they already borderline are,
Well,
I mean,
Disney,
that's
Disney,
expensive.
like when Disney came to the market, man, they came to market with that deal. Like I signed up for Disney when they were first introduced, and it was I think it was $5.99, or I think it was $6.99 actually. It was $6 or $7 a month for 3 years. I was just like, that's considering what you got, like, that's a huge
Mhm.
deal. Like, I felt like that was a great deal. Um, so,
That's like
yeah, I mean,
Apple TV is only $4.99,
yeah,
and they got fucking great
they
content
got
on
great
there.
content, yeah.
But, I mean, the reason they can do it because they can afford it. They're not gonna be profitable for Apple Plus for quite some time, but that's fine because they couldn't drop a streaming service for 15, 20 bucks a month when they had no content.
Mhm.
Like, even though their content they have on there now, they have a decent little library, and it's all good. That's kinda aside from that Jason Momoa show, which just looks fucking stupid, but nevertheless, that C show,
I don't
yeah,
know that one, no.
I don't know, it was good. I don't know, it's stupid. I don't even wanna talk about it, but I have to bring it up. If you've never even heard about it, it's like this, like, dystopian, apocalyptic kinda world where, like, everybody's blind other than Jason Momoa. And then, like, something happens, I guess. I don't know. It's
The huh,
kinda goofy. Batista's in it now. I don't know. It just always looked
wow.
stupid to me. It was weird, though. It just looked dumb, but nevertheless, all their other stuff is great. But eventually, they'll be beefing up their prices soon too, because they're starting to at least get a really, really solid catalog of content. I mean, For All Mankind is amazing. And then what else? I mean, they had Morning Show on there. That was a good show. That M. Night Shyamalan show is really good. That Blackbird show, but it was a limited series, but had, what's his name? Egerton. His name? The Egerton kid. He played, the dude, oh my god, why am I blanking? Everyone thinks
Oh,
he's gonna be
from
Wolverine.
The Kingsman?
Eggsy, yeah.
Exit,
Eggsy,
yeah.
something Egerton. I can't remember his first name. It's gonna bother me now.
Heron? No.
Taron Egerton, that's what it is, Taron. That's it. But yeah, that he has a limited series that's on Apple Plus right now, and, it was really good. So I would if
Yeah.
you have Apple Plus, I would watch that, but nevertheless, you got anything else you wanna add about She-Hulk? We divulged.
It was another enjoyable episode. I mean, we got, we're firmly into the sitcom territory now, which I
Mhm.
liked. Yeah, it was good.
Was that the 4th episode or the 3rd? I can't
3rd,
remember. 3rd?
just 3rd, yeah.
So come next
For
week, we'll be caught up with the anybody who saw the first 4 episodes.
Yes, the preview episodes they did for reviewers.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we got the first one was the origin backstory. Last week was her getting her job at the new firm, and then this week was her first case getting him
Yeah.
um, out of prison, I guess, and not case even her parole hearing. So
But my last thought, I guess, on it is, do you think we get Daredevil next episode, or you think it'll be later, like in the second half?
yeah,
'Cause
I
there's
don't
9
know.
episodes, so I think it'll either be the next one or it'll be, like, the 5th episode probably.
Is Daredevil just a one-off thing? You think he's not going to be a recurring character? He's not going to appear. Well, let me correct that. Is he just going to appear in one episode, and is it just going to be like one scene of one episode?
I don't know, it's weird because if I remember the obviously, you can't believe everything you see on IMDb until everything's aired, but I feel like I remember it saying that he was in, like, 9 of the episodes, which we know isn't true, but
Yeah,
that means that they at least someone assumed something, right? Because but
yeah.
they even also had, like, Wong listed for, like, 9 episodes too, and he hasn't been in was he in the first one? I don't even think they showed him in the first one, but they showed him in the second one, right? Or was it just the 3rd? I don't even remember now.
No, they not show him in the second. This was the only
Oh, yeah,
one
this
he's
is
been
his
in
first
so far.
appearance, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
I'm really I mean, it's just it makes Matt Murdock makes so much sense to be in this series. I mean,
Oh,
besides
yeah.
the superhero connection, just the fact that they're both lawyers. So seeing that, like, it would be super interesting to see them both go up against each other in court, um, which would give a nice spin on the whole superheroes always fight when they wouldn't be fighting physically, they'd be fighting in the courtroom, which I think would be a cool twist on that whole superheroes always fight when they meet deal.
Mhm.
But then we've seen him teased in costume, so we know it's not. We don't even know that they're going to meet in the courtroom. So
If they don't meet in the courtroom, it will I honestly
huge missed opportunity.
that would take me out of the show more than anything else that happens.
Yeah,
Like, if they just somehow don't have them facing each other in court. It's because he's a defense attorney for one, and now she works for this company. So, like, either one of them could be defending their client or she could be prosecuting
it
someone
could
who did
be.
something to their
Well,
whole law
it,
firm.
it could
Like,
be a civil case. Like somebody could be
yeah.
suing, or she could be suing somebody. He could be representing. Could be suing the firm. Like, there's just so many different ways they could go with it. But yeah, I think the two of them being lawyers, you want to see them face off in the courtroom.
Yeah, that would seriously take if we don't see that, that would be the, like, biggest that would be the most shocking thing that happened in all of MCU Phase 5, like, or
Yeah,
4, whatever we're at right now. If
yeah,
you put them in a lawyer show and you don't put them in a courtroom, that'd be
yeah.
insane. Because you could even have it if since they're tying in, like, Daredevil's gonna be an Echo, and then Kingpin was in Hawkeye, and they're, like, tying all this stuff together because D'Onofrio's gonna be an Echo as well. You could have Kingpin in here too, and make you could have Kingpin being represented by She-Hulk and Daredevil fucking prosecute like, doing prosecuting him or some capacity even. You can flip it around because she's an attorney in the superhero firm now, so she could have to defend him. And that would be funny in some ways.
Let Let me ask you this. So, I mean, everybody's hyped about Daredevil coming to being in the MCU now. Everybody's like, and I'm like, I am too. I'm right there with you. You got Charlie Cox back. Like, let's do it. Let's go. Um,
Yes.
but thinking about that, and thinking about the Netflix Daredevil show, and like I think at least in my head, my hope is that the new Daredevil series that comes out is going to be reminiscent. I understand it won't be 100% what it was on Netflix. That they're probably going to go for a different maybe demographic as far as age content or whatever. So they may tone some stuff down a little bit, but I'm hoping that it has the same feel as that Net. That all that being said, does She-Hulk work in that world? Like, if She-Hulk shows up in that show, does it work? Like, I don't know. Tonally, She-Hulk is so kind of witty and irreverent, and like I'm thinking about watching Daredevil down the line, and because basically what prompted all this was I'm thinking like, oh, they meet in this show, and then of course when Daredevil comes out, then you have a reprisal role on Daredevil's
Mhm.
show for something that goes on, and maybe it's a little more serious matter. Because in this one, I was sorry, this is all the thoughts that go through my head while we're doing this, and you guys can see how crazy I am. But I was initially thinking, I was like, well, they can't do anything too serious on this show because this show is more of a, it's supposed to be a comedy show. It's a sitcom, so you're not going to have like this really intense murder scene or them really go at each other as far as like a real intense like hard hitting story. But then like when you get to Daredevil later on, they have already you have established this relationship with them. You could do something a little more serious. And then I was like, yeah, but then, if she shows up in Daredevil, does this giant CGI green woman kind of pull you out of the just the world that's created in that? So anyway, that's a long way, it's a long way of getting to me asking, does she pull you out of it if you get to Daredevil?
Well, the flip side of that is, does Daredevil work in She-Hulk? Because we're gonna
And I
see
guess
that,
we'll see. Yeah, we
you
definitely were
know?
getting that. We'll see. I would
Because
think so, but
well, the writer an interesting thing that the showrunner said, Jessica Gao, she said, like, take it as you will, because people just kinda say things off the cuff in interviews, but nevertheless, she said that it's interesting seeing people, and I think it was about, like, Daredevil and, like, these cameo people. But she said, it's interesting being able to take them from the things that we're familiar seeing them in, right? Like, we've seen Daredevil, we know, like, the kind of milieu that Daredevil comes from, but then when they get to bring them into She-Hulk, you get to see them in an entirely different light because they are this comedic courtroom kinda comedy show, so like, they it kind of implies that, like, when Daredevil, who we know is this dark, brooding, gritty hallway fight dude, when he
mhm,
comes into She-Hulk, he's gonna be a little bit more jokey, more there's gonna be more levity, more lighthearted side of Daredevil. You know what I mean? So I don't even
yeah,
know if you would do the vice versa, right? Because I feel like, kinda to your point, I don't think if She-Hulk just goes over to even the Netflix Daredevil show, if She-Hulk was already established like this, I think she'd be just like that over there, so it might just be kinda weird, but I don't see them, like, all of a sudden flipping a switch and it's like the Dark Knight version of She-Hulk shows up for the Daredevil
yeah,
show, but then back over in She-Hulk, it's all jokes and,
yeah.
like, so I don't know. It'll be a nice balancing act, but I don't think it'll be I think they would just balance it out properly more so than anything. I think it would work fine. Because I mean, Daredevil, like, he made jokes in the courtroom. He was a funny guy. So, like, it's not
Right.
like, when he comes over here and he's not just beating people to a bloody pulp. It's fine because we don't always see Daredevil doing that. He's normal sometimes. So
And
he could work.
he worked well in the Spider-Man movie,
He
the
did.
brief little snippet we've got him so far, he worked really well. I mean, it was clearly the same character. Charlie Cox didn't significantly alter the way he portrayed him at all in any meaningful way, so yeah.
And he was the joke little one-liner he had is exactly the kinda jokey one-liners he had in his show.
Yeah.
Like, he talked like that all the time, so I don't know, it worked for me. I'm
Yep.
excited to see him show up, though. Like, of all the things they could actually have brought back from the Netflix shows, that was the only one I cared about. Like, I mean, I
Definitely.
wanna see John Bernthal back as Punisher, but I'm they don't have to bring anyone else back as long as we got Charlie Cox as Daredevil.
Yeah,
Like, I'm
if you had to pick one thing from that entire thing to
oh, yeah.
bring back, and
Absolutely.
I think and then borderline, if you had to pick two things, I think they did it right by bringing Vincent D'Onofrio back. Like, I'm not sure. I mean, John Barenthal's
Fair.
close, but you hold Barenthal and D'Onofrio up and like tell me which one I have to pick. I 9 times out of 10, I probably am going D'Onofrio just because I think that
Yeah.
relationship works so well between the two of them.
I would say on paper that would have been my choice, but then the Kingpin we saw in Hawkeye
Mhm.
was not what I would have done done with Kingpin. You know, like because he really that was a vague that was it was kind of a vague, you could argue, departure, but I think it was also like a very glaring, not the same kind of Kingpin. Like
Yeah,
Hawaiian Shirt had superpowers, like literally. Like
yeah.
that really wasn't the same guy, even though it was the same guy. They really made it seem like it wasn't the same guy, but nevertheless. Let's move on to
Yep.
Lord of the Rings and see. But guys, let us know what you guys thought about the She-Hulk down in the comment section below.